Welcome to Voice of the Crusader. My name is Yaakov Ben Israel, and I'm the elder priest of the New Covenant Congregation of Israel. We're located at 3901A Covington Highway in Decatur, Georgia. This program is designed to give you insight into the scripture as to the past, present, and future of this so-called renamed Negro here in America. The reason why we can't find any more of our history than we brought some Negroes from the west coast of Africa is because our history is hidden openly in the Bible. And you can go in there and find out everything that has happened to this so-called renamed Negro, everything that's happening to us now, and the things that are shortly coming to pass with this New World Order, how we going to fare in that. See, one thing I like about reading the scriptures, Yahweh told you everything that he was going to do, and all you have to do is look for these things. See, a lot of people like to call in and talk about a lot of yin-yang about what they don't believe and what they think about who wrote the Bible and all this other stuff. But then what you do is this. The average person that called in saying those things has never really read it. They go by that word of mouth stuff. But let me give you a little background on myself. I'm 64 years old, and at the age of 13, I went on a quest to try to find my people. I've heard a lot of talk and read a lot of things, but I went on a quest trying to find my people. And in the process, I've lived in 36 states and visited 8 foreign countries trying to find, not on vacation, trying to find this information. And the only place that I could find this information that I was looking for was in the book that they call the Holy Bible. Many people don't understand the Bible simply because they don't study the Bible. They don't study this book and compare it with history and see that how things would fare for our people and what would happen on the earth in history. It's just like today. The things that's being set up over in Europe today, I don't know whether you're aware of it or not, but this week, Switzerland, the money bags of Europe, Switzerland has finally put her application in to become part of the EU, this new one world order. And the only nation that's left out of that now in that arena is the Vatican. The Pope has to be left out of that, because when you get into Daniel 7th chapter, you're going to read about the 4 empires that came up on the earth, and then you're going to read about a little horn that came up, and this little horn was ecclesiastical Babylon, and you can pick that up in Daniel 7 and Revelations 13 and Revelation 17. And when it talks about beast, a lot of people read the book of Revelations and they say it's scary. That's because you haven't read the book of Daniel. If you read the book of Daniel, the angel explained to Daniel who the 7 heads were, who the 10 horns were, and who the 10 crowns were. And when you get in the book of Revelation and read about the revival of this last Holy Roman Empire, you can pull those things up. So, you know, if you're going to call in and let's discuss some of these things and see what you think about it and what you think is happening to our people now and what's going to be the future of this so-called renamed Negro, because whether you know it or not, we're being phased out. We're already being replaced with Hispanics, and with the economy the way it is today, then we can very well see everybody take care of their own but us. We wanted to get so much freedom back during the Civil Rights Movement that we gave up our economic base in our neighborhood just to be able to go up to Buckhead and shop around in Buckhead saying that we are free. Well, if you haven't got any land, if you haven't got a king, if you haven't got any rulers that rule over you, and speak for your people prospectively, then you are a captive. And we're the only people on the earth that have no one to speak for us. As a matter of fact, when you look at the American Indians have spokesmen that speak for the American Indians. Us, we have spokesmen that speaks for everybody, all minorities. But what about us? What about us as a nation of people? We're so quick to forgive and forget things that we don't, and we want to be so accepted that we are quick to forget our past, the things that we know that happened to our people in this country here. This is something black people don't want to hear too much, especially about that slavery thing. We trying to forget that. Well, to do your best to remember it, simply because Yahweh told you why we were going to be in this captivity and exactly how long that we were going to be in this captivity. Now, I'm going to read something to you out of the book of Genesis, Genesis chapter 15. And see some things that Yahweh told our father Abraham. This is Genesis chapter 15, and I'm going to pick this up at verse 13. It says, "And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance." Now, we were supposed to be in a land that our fathers did not know of. America was the last place that was discovered by the Euro Gentiles, and the last place that they came and set up shop. Now, we talk about the Christian people that came and did this now. They came over from Europe, kill off the Indians, and then set up our governmental system, and then they went and got them some slaves, and now we practice the same religions that they gave to us. But what did we have before we came over here? We practiced a religion before we came over here, and most people don't even know what it is, simply because people don't study enough to find out who they are. It's only 5 seeds upon the earth. 5 seeds. And you can pick this up in the book of Genesis. And what you do is get your world map and section off the land. The Bible tells you which land each one of these nations inherited. And section off that land, and you're going to find out that we as a people are out of place. Once you get to doing that research, what you're going to run into is the 5 seeds that are here on the earth today. And if you can check with world history and match these things with the things that happen in Scripture that the prophet said was going to take place, and you can very well see that the things that was written that has happened and are going to happen, we can very well see that the prophets already prophesied these things, and all we have to do is just watch for these things to come to pass. The phone number here is 44892-5614. 44892-5614. Now, a lot of people like to say who they think wrote this book, but I tell you what, when you read the things that's written in this book, it all revolves around one nation of people, this so-called renamed Negro. In biblical time, we were called Hebrews. And everything that was said, everything that was done, all the covenants and all the dealings with God was done through one nation of people, the Hebrew Israelites. Now, to show you that these people were black, all you have to do is get back into the Genesis and read when Jacob and his family, just before Jacob and his family moved down into Egypt. Now, prior to that, the brothers had sold Joseph to some Midianites that had sold him in turn to Potiphar, one of the Pharaoh's captains down in Egypt. And when the brothers went down there 17 years later, now here was Joseph standing right next to Pharaoh. Now let's understand, now the Pharaohs, the Ethiopians are today. Okay? Now Joseph was standing right next to Pharaoh, and his brothers didn't recognize who he was. When Moses killed that Egyptian and went to around the Midianites, around the Arabs thought that Moses was an Ethiopian. Even in the New Testament, they thought Paul was an Ethiopian. So we can very well see that the people that we are referring to were black people. Else why would they be considered to be Africans if they was white or any other color? So it'll pay you to get back into your book and read it. Most people that criticize this book here have never really read the book. What they go by is what John down the street said and what Mary across town said and so forth, but they never get in here and do the study. And to show you that, we've had some callers that has talked about who wrote the book and how many mistakes and so forth it is in it. Well, I've issued this challenge to people. Come by NCCI and bring your information, and let's get these things kind of squared away, because truly, the things that you're talking about, it's easy to say things on the air, but my thing is prove all things, and this is what we don't want to do. We want to call in and talk that yin-yang while we're standing behind that telephone, but when it comes down to meeting face-to-face to get your historical facts and encyclopedias and so forth, this is what we don't want to deal with. I think we got a call on the line. Go ahead, caller, you in there. Go ahead, caller. Okay, go ahead, caller. I think we must have lost that caller. Okay, then. But like I said, I'm not a foolish man, and I was doing research on who my people were long before most of you that's listening to this TV, watching this TV program. I was doing research on this before you were born. So it's nothing new that you're going to come up with. Something you can talk about that's historically based that I don't know something about. Go ahead, caller, you on there. Do we have that caller?
Hello, Elder.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing this evening?
Oh, fine. How you doing?
All right, this is Mr. Jinx.
Okay.
Sometimes, Elder, I think I would like to tell you wasting your time sometimes, because I take classes over at Atlanta Area Tech, brother, and explain the same thing you saying right now to young black students. Even pull Ethiopians out just to show them, man, what color the folks is. And one question I ask the Ethiopians right in front of those kids: have you ever seen a European Ethiopian? Just say no and will still argue you down. Number two, Esau seed / Ironians, if that's their land, Hitler wasn't even in power prior to 1919, and Britain was already over there in Palestine, Israel. If that was their land, why weren't they there then? Mm-hmm. That's my question. Good evening. I love you.
Your brother, you're absolutely right. When the so-called Jews went into Israel in 1948, it was a British province. And once they got in there with the help of Great Britain and the United States, then immediately the Jews were, Israel was declared a state. Israel is not a state. Israel is a country. But the problem was Moab and Ammon, Abraham's nephew Lot's two boys, the Palestinians was in the land, and that's what really caused the problem. By right, the Hebrew Israelites own the land from the River Nile to the great river Euphrates. And these are some lands that the nations had devoured since we've been in this captivity, simply because we've been over here talking about we are someone else. But I tell you what you do, go down to the public library and go back and look up in 1991, when the war broke out in Mogadishu. It's 1995, when the war broke out in Mogadishu, Ethiopia. They started secretly airlifting black Jews out of Ethiopia, putting them into Israel. If all black folks was Africans, why did they take them to Israel instead of keeping them there in Africa? But once we got down in Africa, what you might want to, the people that you might want to do some research on is the Bantu, the Limbo, the Falasha, and the Moors. You might want to go and do some research on those people, and you can find out that these were the Hebrew Israelites that Titus sold to the Ethiopians between 70 and 100 AD when the Romans invaded our land. See, the Bible is about history. This book is totally about the history of the world, and Yahweh's dealing with the nations of the earth, and you'll find out when you study this book that he only dealt with one race of people, and that nation of people would be in captivity in the latter days, and truly we've been in captivity since 70 AD. I think we got another call on the line. Go ahead, caller, you on there. Well, I guess we lost that one. But what you might want to do, let me read something to you here out of the book of Daniel, and see what you're going to get out of this here. It's in Daniel chapter 7, and I'm going to pick now. If you got your book, open your book, and Daniel was telling you about, in the 7th chapter of Daniel, Daniel was telling you about the 4 empires that was going to come up on the earth. And today, all these 4 empires has come up on the earth, and history bears these things out. This is why when folks tell me, say, well, so-and-so wrote that. Well, if you go back and check the year that these things were prophesied, these things took place, these things took place in 537 BCE. And these things did come up on the earth with the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, and then the Holy Roman Empire. And the Holy Roman Empire was the empire that was going to destroy God's holy people. And truly, we're the only nation on the earth that you can't name me one king, one prince, no holy things that we have of our own, and no land that we inhabit, that we can say this is our land. I think we got another call on the line. Go ahead, caller, you on there.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, yes. I was calling in reference to the comment that you made about Paul in the New Testament. You said he was considered, or he was questioned as an Ethiopian. I'm aware of our heritage and far as how far we go back in the Bible, but I just didn't know exactly where that was in the New Testament, and I was just inquiring about that.
Where Paul was thought to be a African?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my brother, that's in the book of Acts. I'll get that for you. It's in the book of Acts, and it's Acts 21st chapter. It's in Acts 21, where it's Acts in 21, and I'm going to pick this up at verse 35. Now, what had happened was that this is Acts 21 and verse 35. What had happened was that Saul he had been commissioned by the Holy Spirit to go teach the Gentiles, because he told the Gentiles that they were alienated from the commonwealth of Israel and without God in the world. So what happened was, once the Messiah came and sealed up the new covenant with his blood, let's understand one thing. Yahweh is going to save all nations. But the thing of it is this, that Yahweh is a God of order. And the order of things is that the Hebrew Israelites will rule this kingdom, this millennial kingdom, with the Messiah for 1,000 years. And even told he's going to bring up David, and David was going to be the prince in this kingdom, and he was going to take the house of Judah, that's over here in America, the daughter of Babylon, and scatter them to the 4 corners of the earth, and they were going to be the governors of the earth. He even told the apostles that when he come into his kingdom, that they're going to sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. So the apostles will be the judges in the land. But what the Messiah is coming to set up is a governmental system on this earth after he destroys all the other governmental system on the earth. But let me read this to you out of the book of Acts here. This is Acts in Acts 21. Now, as I said, Paul went to teach the Gentiles, and our people didn't like it. So what they did was they accosted Paul, and they tried to beat him up. And the Roman captain came down and got Paul from among them. And let me read this to you what happened. This is in Acts 21 and verse 35. And when he came into the stairs, so it was that he was carried by the soldiers for the violence of the people. For the multitude of the people followed after him, crying, "Away with him!" And Saul was to be led into the council. He said unto the chief captain, "May I speak unto you?" Who said, "Can you speak Greek? Are you not that Egyptian which before these days made an uproar and led out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers?" But Saul said, "I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus." So now the pictures that we get is this white Paul. But here what I get out of the Bible, the same one they teach out of now, what I get out of the Bible was that Paul was thought to be an Ethiopian. Now, how is it that we get a white Paul and then the Bible said it was a black Paul? I think we got another call on there, on the line. Go ahead, caller, you on there.
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I think so.
Hey, isn't it in the scripture where it talks about people today who live by saying, like, yeah, I love my kids, I love God, I go to church and I pray when I want. You know, isn't in the scripture that talks about that, you know, people think they're going to like the promised land or whatever, you know, by just living ordinary, or, you know, or everyday life, you know. You know, like I love my kids, I do this, I'm a good person. You know what I mean? You know, is it in the scripture anywhere about those type of folks?
Well, brother, if I understand you correctly, sure, that's those are the blasphemy of those who claim to be serving the true and living God, and they're not serving the true and living God. Paul made some statements about people like that deal with things like that. Brother, give me a minute here, and I'll run you down something here that Paul had to say. See, what we have to understand is that man don't deal with things the way that he's supposed to deal with things. What man deal with is what he hears, and basically that from other nations. This is in Romans chapter 13 and verse 1. It says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of Elohim. The powers that be are ordained of Elohim. Whosoever therefore resists the power, resists the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive damnation to themselves. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Will you then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, of the same. Now, in order for us to do what is good, then we have to read what is good for us to do. Now, when we came out of Egypt, you got to understand what was going on. We had been down in Egypt for 430 years. We were living just about like the Egyptian were living. And we know that Pharaoh said he was the son of Ra, the bull. You know what I mean? I mean, them Africans worship some of everything. And we were down there in Africa for 430 years, and then Yahweh raised Moses up and brought us out. And when he brought us out, what he did was this. He gave us a code of ethics. He gave us a code of ethics, and he said, this is your wisdom, your knowledge, and your understanding among all the nations. Now, this was the law code, thou shalt and thou shalt not. Well, now, in the New Testament, excuse me, what the adversary of the devil told his children was this. Oh, you don't have to do that. See, Paul said you're not under the law, you're under grace. But if you go back and read which law Paul was talking about, he was talking about the animal sacrifice. Because when John saw the Messiah coming, he said, behold the Lamb of God that take away the sins of the earth. Now, in St. Matthew 15 chapter, the Messiah said, I'm not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. See, Christ didn't come to redeem all mankind, because the covenants had only been made with people in the lineage of the house of Israel. So, like Paul told the Gentiles, they were alienated from the commonwealth of Israel and without God in the world, and they sacrificed to dumb idols. And when you look around today, they got all of them damn idols with us right here today. As a matter of fact, they just celebrated one of those pagan holidays they call Valentine's Day. You know, we go by our girlfriends, our wives, that little heart-shaped box of candy, a teddy bear or something, and then this fat God gonna fly around and shoot her, Cupid gonna shoot her in the heart, and she gonna fall. And what kind of garbage is that? But yet and still, the church does these things also. And where do we get these things from? We got all of the things that we deal with today, we got from our enemies. We got Christianity from the Euro Gentiles. We got Islam from the Arabs, and not the same Islam that they practice. Now, a lot of people, I hear a lot of things said about what Elijah Muhammad, the prophet Elijah Muhammad, and they're going to tell me, so well, King James wrote the book, but yet and still they're going to go in Malachi and read in Malachi where it said, behold, I'm going to send you Elijah the prophet, you know. But when you read that, it wasn't talking about Elijah Muhammad, see? This book here was talking about the things that were going to happen with the Jews. Now, what happened was, if you go back in history, in the 1300s, a man born in Medina, his name was Muhammad Mustafa. He was the one that started Islam. When he left Mecca, they put him out of Mecca, and he went to Medina, and he stayed in Medina for a while, and when he came back to Mecca, he came back with 10,000 troops. He took over the city, went in that little square box that they called the Kaaba, broke up all them pagan gods they had, and they accept that black stone. And they said, this is the stone, they said, fell down from their god, Jupiter. But anyways, we don't go back and deal with that. What we deal with is this. We deal with the things that we received over in this country from somebody else that said, it was a man here that was God that was in jail with him and taught him that, but yet and still when he came out, he didn't follow him. He followed a Moorish prince. Behind this where that fez and everything he wore came from. But do your research before you call in talking about any garbage, because I'm well read on all the religions on the earth and on all the nations on the earth. I think we got another call on the line. Go ahead, caller, you on there.
Yeah, I have a question. I wanted to ask what the reasoning was that you gave. I just wanted you to clarify what the reasoning that you gave was for the airlifting of the Falasha Jews of Ethiopia by Israel in 1991. What was the reason for that?
The reason why they brought them out of there, my brother, is because there was a war going on in Ethiopia, and they were in the way. They were in the way. So, and they were not Africans. So this is why the Israelis and the American government went in there and took them out of there. If you go back in 1985, go to a public library, either come by NCCI. We got all the publications that came out of the Journal-Constitution, the New York Times, the Sun Times out of New York, and Reader's Digest wrote a 26-page article on it. And look at the title: Operation Moses, Operation Sheba, Secret Exodus, and so forth. And they kept it secret. They kept that Exodus secret because they figured that if black folks over here in America saw that they had some more black folks that wasn't African, that they would think something was wrong. This is why it was secret until an Israeli mentioned something to a reporter on the White House steps, and then that's when all the newspapers and everything went over. As a matter of fact, if you go down to the Atlanta Public Library, Reader's Digest had a 26, to show you how important this was, Reader's Digest had a 26-page article on it, and the only reason they was took them up into Israel was because they were in the way and they were not welcome any place else in Africa. So you have to understand what happened. Didn't nobody go over there like a lot of people try to make you think that people went over in Africa and jumped out and just snatched folks. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. The African kings, the British, Spanish, Portuguese, and Dutch conspired with the African kings, and the African kings began to round us up out of the villages that we stayed in, and they marched us to the West Coast and sold us to the British, Spanish, Portuguese, and Dutch. They know that we are a different nation than them. Everybody know but us. All the other nations know who we are but us. Here we are over here talking about we African Americans, and got somebody else over in our land talking about they the Israelites. And the Bible plainly tells you that the Israelites were black. Now all of a sudden, people telling me that Ephraim is the United Countries of Europe, and Manasseh is the United States. Now, how stupid can that be? Well, if they're the Gentiles, if they're the Israelites, then who are the Gentiles? And we know that all the people they're talking about are the Gentiles from Europe and Asia. But see, we don't want to do the research because a lot of us like things the way that they are. We like that word of mouth stuff. But there's something coming up on us that's going to show you what's going to take place. Let me go back here and read this here. This is going to make you grab your hat. Let me go back here in Daniel, and I'm going to read. I'm going to read something to you out of Daniel. This is in Daniel chapter 7, and I'm going to pick this up at verse chapter 7, and I'm going to pick this up at verse 23. Now, Daniel, I'm picking up verse 19. Now, Daniel already knew about the empires that came up on the earth because Daniel was in the Babylonian captivity when the Arabs had us in captivity in 606 BC. And then the the Medes, the Iranians, and the Russians, the Medes and the Persians came upon us. Then the Greeks came upon us. And then the Romans came upon us. But let me read something to you that's going to happen to us in this Roman empire. And this is Daniel chapter 7 and verse 19. It says, "Then I would know the truth of the fourth empire, which was different from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were as iron, and his nails brass, which devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And of the 10 horns that was in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn which had eyes and a mouth that spoke very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows." Now, if you read the book of Daniel, the angels are going to tell you that these horns are kings that's going to arise. Okay? So when you get in the book of Revelation, when you're reading about 7 heads and 10 horns, you go back and look at your empires, you see it's been 7 heads, 6 so far, that has ruled the earth. Go back with Nebuchadnezzar and break down the kingdoms from Nebuchadnezzar down to the Roman Empire, and you come up with 7, and we're waiting on the 8th king now for them to crown him. Verse 21. "I beheld, and the same king made war with the saints, and prevailed against them until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom." Now, from what I read, this last empire is going to be making war with the children of Israel. Well, somebody making war with us. Aren't we in captivity? Huh? Verse 23. "Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be different from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and tread it down, and break it in pieces." Well, look at their state of the earth today. The ecosystems are being destroyed. "And the 10 horns of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be different from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings." And all you got to do is go back in history and see who it is that has destroyed us as a nation of people, and you'll find out it's the Gentiles of Europe that has destroyed us as a nation of people, and it's the Gentiles that's in control of this earth today, and it's the Gentiles that's bringing in this new one world order. They already got the currency on the market. Only thing we're waiting for now is for them to announce who their king is going to be. And once that happens, we as a people are going to have the most difficult problem that we've ever had in our life. I think we got a call on the line.
Yes, I have a question. You said earlier that the land between the Nile and the Euphrates belongs to the Hebrews. Could you clarify that statement for me, please?
Yes, sir.
Tell me what that is founded on.
Yes, sir. Let me go back in the book of Genesis here, and I read it to you out of the book of Genesis. It was when Yahweh made a covenant with Abraham pertaining to that circumcision. But let me read this to you out of the book of Genesis about the land that was given to Abraham, and it was the same land that was given to the children of Israel. And let me find that here for you, brother. The same land that was given to okay. It's in Genesis. Give me a second here, and I'll find it here for you. The whole land mass that was given to. Okay, I'm up too far. It's back up in Genesis. It's got to be when. Here it is here. Okay. This is in Genesis. In Genesis 12. In Genesis 12 in chapter. I'm going to pick this up at verse 6. It says. No, verse 5, it says, Abraham took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth to come into the land of Canaan. And into the land of Canaan they came. Now, the Canaanites was in the land. They had spread from Africa all the way over to Europe at this time here, and the Africans called it the land of Canaan. Verse 6, and Abraham passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, and to the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanites was then in the land. And the Lord appeared unto Abram and said, unto thy seed will I give this land. And there he built an altar unto Yahweh, who appeared unto him. Okay, now let's go down a little further here, and we're going to pick that up a little further, where he told him that the land that was given was from the river Nile to the great river. Here it is. Here it's in this is chapter 15 and verse 2. And Abraham said, Adonai Elohim, what will you give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus? And Abraham said, behold, to me you have given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of Yahweh came unto him, saying, this shall not be your heir, but he that shall come forth out of your own bowels shall be your heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, look now toward the heaven and tell the stars, if you be able to number them, so shall your seed be. And he believed in Yahweh, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness. Now, I'm going to skip over here to chapter 17. After Yahweh gave Abraham this land mass, he gave him another son, which he called Ishmael. Now, let me find it here where it says from the river Nile to the great river Euphrates. As a matter of fact, you can get into the law book and see that Moses, that was given by Moses also to the children of Israel. All the land of Canaan was given to Abraham to give to Isaac, and Isaac gave that land to Jacob, and Jacob inherited. The only king that ruled that land was David and Solomon. After that, the kingdom was divided simply because our fathers didn't do what they were supposed to do. But the land that was given, my brother, was the land from the river Nile to the great river Euphrates. That was the land that was given Abraham, and Abraham gave it to Isaac, and Isaac gave it to Jacob, and Jacob gave it to the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. And we lived in that land until 606 BC, when the Arabs came in and dispossessed part of us the first time, and later on the Medes and the Persians came in, then the Greeks came in, and then the Romans came in, and once the Messiah died, then truly we didn't have any land anymore. The Romans kicked us out, and they put everybody else in that land, and everybody but us. But anyways, my brother, it was the land of Canaan. And when you look at the land of Canaan was from the river Nile to the great river Euphrates. And that was the land that was given to the children of Israel for an everlasting possession. And you can pick that up in Genesis 12. And all you got to do is read that in Genesis 12 and go into the law book and pick up in the law book where Moses told him the land was given, and you'll find out that it's also in the 13th chapter of Genesis. It says, Genesis 13 and verse 14, and Yahweh said unto Abraham after the lot was separated from him, lift up thine eyes and look from the place where you are northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which you seest, to thee will I give it to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed be numbered. Arise, walk through the land, the length of it and the breadth of it, for I will give it unto you. And Abraham removed his tent and came and dwelt in the plains of Mamre, and which is Hebron, and built an altar there. So if you look at that land where Abraham was, if you look at that land and follow Abraham's path to where he went, all you got to do is get your world map and put all that information on the map and follow his path. You'll find out that Abraham traveled from the river Nile all the way over to the great river Euphrates, and that was the land that the Most High God gave under Abraham. Once again, the phone number is 44892-5614.
Just like when Paul, when he identified himself, he told him that, no, I'm a Jew of Tarsus.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
But in all actuality, we know that Paul was a Benjamite.
He was still a Jew.
No, he couldn't. If he
Yes,
was
he could.
Okay.
See, you got to understand.
Form of the word Judah,
You got
right?
to understand what happened when the Romans came in.
Right.
The Romans didn't care what your pedigree was. See, the Romans came in 63.
But he would know what his pedigree
Let me
is.
finish. The Romans came in 63 BC, long before Paul was born. And the Romans didn't care what your pedigree was. They called you all Jews. Now, we know it was only one tribe of Jews. That was Judah. Benjamin was not Jews, and Levi was not Jews. But they call them all Jews. As a matter of fact, they called all of the apostles Jews. All of them were called Jews. But we are the New Covenant Congregation of Israel, located at 3901A Covington Highway in Decatur, Georgia. And we have classes on Saturday at 1 p.m., Tuesday night at 8 p.m., Thursday night we have a sisters class only at 8 p.m. Sunday morning at 10:30 we have a prophecy class. Come by, bring your information and so forth, because we only have a limited time here. And I hate to once again with the Culture Center of NCCI, we're at 3901A Covington Highway in Decatur, Georgia. Come by and let's chit chat a little. And don't forget, we still got open mic. So come by and participate in that wheel. Peace, prosperity, and Yahweh be with you all.
Brothers, you know, will grow and find out who he is as a nation, so we can figure out the real complication of these other pagan nations have their own obligations, escaping into tribulation. Say what? Escaping into tribulation. I'm into a drop standing in the forward.
I need the slump in your sleep. Yahweh's my keeper, my shelter in the sweltering heat. Omnipotent, calling princes from the slum to the street, forming poetry, the glory pertinent to the beat, causing the blind making the dumb to speak. He that has an ear to hear the lame secure on his feet, writing his love upon our hearts into his promise we seek. Increase the seed of Abraham and the sands of the sea. Praises be to he who makes the hatred complete. The shepherd stretched out arm, perform the flocks of his sheep. From the end of the globe, the spirit of the country, valleys of dry bone into a nation of priests. While the serpents, but like a dove we humble and weak, until the lamb slain returns to rule 1,000 in peace. Placing the strength of God beat upon the feeble and weak, slaying false prophets to name number and mark of the beast. Descend the earth to split the Mount of Olivet at his feet. Approaching his appointed throne to rightfully take a seat. Voices rejoicing, Satan stages spoonfuls to defeat. A legion of your wildest heathens couldn't even compete with Armageddon, veteran, angelically protected infantry fleet, invading Salem, watching postures streets. Yeah, watching postures streets. And if you with me, people rise to your feet.
Yeah. Rise and shine, for your light has come, and the glory of Yahweh has risen upon. He alone preach the news to that ear. Instead of a time for peace, now it's time for war. See a continual world when they follow the head of the wicked. Because of the holy people whom the nations afflicted. Behold, nobody else should stand up for his cause and bring the nations to Megiddo with hooks in their jaws. See, Yahshua would come with wrath like a flood, tread the wild with his garments splattered in blood. Then Israel shall blossom and bud, and all the other nations learn how to walk in love. Ezekiel took 2 sticks and made a one in his hand. And in the land of Israel, the 12 tribes should stand. And as they see on his numerous as the grains of sand, and witness the power and the glory of the Son of Man. And we will be brought back from where we were sold, and we shall see Jerusalem with the streets paved in gold, and walking God's laws, strong and bold, and not the way the nations did, all out of control. With blossoming trees, with evergreen leaves, blowing in the daytime breeze, no more hypocritical Pharisees or Sadducees, but Yahweh's holy decrees will for the earth like disease.
Shut up, I'm a 2012 time, reclaim the matrix, everything faceless, brand new yet basic, covenant and legacy, now Israel retracing, Israel 1, make out a many 600, 13 Lazarus Pennywell, who will stay no suffer over 4 centuries, who will stay no lock down a penitentiary, stiff naked fools yet we still receive mercy, fussy I go feel the fire bitter like Cersei, but who ya bless, Mr. No man curse him, who ya bless, Mr. No man curse him.
Mine and up, both ways and eyes. Shut on no more time, careless, live by the laws of ya. I don't stir it, listen, I'm you walking at the ring and everything. No, I can't cross once you see by the king. You see them like a shot, out of me, nothing. No man can part them from fire burning.
They ask me how I love ya, so it's just a gift of the Holy Spirit from my head to my toe. My confidence when I draw back my bow. My enemies be traveling over hell, snake and snow. The most high and on me for the fight. And before that, I had to get circumcised. I look up and get water baptized. Israelite rise, exalt yourself and be thou wise. God who y'all love, yo, he will chastise. Yo, live in the righteousness and never tell lies. These are the words of the These are the words of the wise.
It's the regathering of the scattered peel. Every first day of the week, we pack the Harley houses still. Boasting and bragging about who hood the hardest and how many brothers you done killed. Then Yahweh said, revenge his bills. He that has the ear, let him hear. But they don't wanna listen. What the Spirit got to say out to these churches. That's why I saw a predestined for perdition. We either worship my adversary, the devil, or the true and living Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Hail across the globe. Curse shall I be everywhere I go. Because of the disobedience of my kinfolk, I go at noonday like a blind man dig in darkness. There is no light. I got a couple of guns, but in the hands of a captain, there is no might. Who's the head? Who's the tail? We dance in Israel in the presence of strangers, pleasing and defiling themselves.